Hello, true believers. Time to do another Police Gone Wild video. Now, I didn't set out for this channel to be about the police and their criminal activities here in the Philippines, but it is something, as you could see, that I am have a lot of recent experience with, and also some unfinished business. So this is going to be a focus, not the main focus, but several topics that I'm going to cover. And why? Because this is the reality here in the Philippines. It's becoming worse than for example, Mexico or the drug cartel countries in South America, because because here in the Philippines there is no line that the police won't cross. I know there's a certain honor among drug cartels that they don't go after civilians, but over here in the Philippines they'll go after anyone that has money. But in this situation it's kind of gray. What I have over here is a video or a picture of someone that was gunned down here in Manila, and the news outlet or the news is saying that this was over money. And let's get into the details of the video, and because there's a lot of unanswered questions. Usually when there's a lot of unanswered questions, you could most likely answer it yourself. And let's get to, why don't we do this? Why don't we get to the video, and then I'll tell you what the questions are that I'm asking, and then how it relates to my own experience. So let's go to it. So let's go to the beginning. And
Arestado ang
the
isang
comments.
pulis na isa sa mga suspect na sa pagpatay sa
She said that police has been arrested over the murder or the shooting of a Chinese national, another Chinese national. So let's go.
isang Chinese sa Malate, Maynila nitong nakaraang linggo. Ang suspect na
Last Sunday, the recent Sunday. So today is Wednesday. So last Sunday. So like 3 days ago, 4 days ago.
piso dahil sa suot niyang tsinelas sa frontline ng balik.
And they were able to identify this police because of his slippers. Now, I don't know if that's going to hold up in court. We were able to identify him, confirm his identity because of slippers. So, because I think they already knew it was him, and they just needed a reason why, and they just said slippers. So there's a lot. I mean, for example, for me, the reason why the when my attorney asked the police, well, why didn't you arrest him right away as soon as he showed up? And they said, oh, well, we couldn't identify him. We didn't know it was him yet. So that was a lie. Of course, the judge didn't believe it, but of course, the police are not that they're expert liars and that they're expert that they'll lie about anything, but they're terrible at what kind of lies they say. But I don't believe it. It's like, but hey, look at this. So just because I wear the same slippers or flops as that person, I could be a confirmed suspect also. So I already think that they knew who the suspect was. So and how I think that they knew. Let's get to the rest of the video.
niya, si Justin Ponsala.
Let's go
Lunes noong
Justin.
nakaraang linggo nakuna ng CCTV ang riding in tandem na ito na
August 2.
sinusundan ng isang asul na sedan sa Malate, Maynila. Di na nahagip ng CCTV pero binaril pala ng angkas ang driver ng kotse na isang Chinese na nakilalang si Nigel.
So what they're describing over here is that these two riding in tandem in the scooter followed this blue sedan and then shot the person driving it. So that's what they said.
Si Yuan, isang linggo
And
matapos
then
ang pamamaril.
they said his name, something Yuan. So it's a pretty it's a pretty authentic Chinese name. It's not one of these John Lee or Stephen Chan or Chris Huawei or something like that. It's an authentic Ting Tang Huawei kind of something fresh off the mainland China. I mean, it's not a tradition. It's not a modern. It's more of an authentic Chinese name. So that could play a factor. Let's go into it. Let's continue. So this, you can see this person is running away after he leaving the scene of the crime.
Naaresto ng Manila Police District ang isa sa mga sospek sa krimen. Ang nagmamaneho sa getaway vehicle na si Senior Master Sergeant Bernardo Oriol Jr.
So this, so the person who's the, which is, it's odd. Based on the CCTV, the guy's got a helmet on that they were able to identify that this is. Oh, look at the CCTV footage that they're showing us over here. That's, it's like somebody looked at it. Oh, that's Master Sergeant so and so. So two things to take away from this. Number one is that it's somebody that's been a police for a long time, so you know they're corrupt through and through. So, and the fact is, like, okay, based on this, what you're showing me, that they were able to identify that it's a, so they already knew it was him. All they had to do was ask around. It's like, who did this? Who did this? Or you're gonna lose your job. Okay, he did it, and then that's pretty much. So, somebody tell us. I'll pretty much kind of go into that after with my analysis. So let's go.
Isang aktibong pulis. Natunton si Oriol sa pamamagitan ng pag-backtrack sa mga CCTV bago nangyari ang krimen.
Doon sa series ng backtracking natin at pag-iimbestiga nitong mga operatiba ng homicide, nakita nga nila na nagkaroon ng transaction itong biktima natin at itong occupant ng isang BMW.
Naging person of interest.
So here's what I gather from what they're telling me. So this was just an observation. So what they were doing is they were monitoring, or they were, so this person over here is a person of interest. So when they say person of interest, this is some person that they suspect is committing a crime. So what they did is, so they're monitoring him, or surveillance. So this person is under surveillance. Now this happens to be this car in this white BMW that they're surveying. The reason why the police are surveying, it's pretty obvious, is they think that this person is committing a crime over money, and we've got ninja cops surveilling them. And I mean, just to be frank, they're all ninja cops. I mean, if you're a cop, you just put ninja cop on it. It's natural. It's normal. It's the right assumption. It's not really an assumption. It's the reality. Let's continue.
Ang sakay ng puting BMW, kaya dito nag-focus ang mga pulis sa pag-backtrack ng mga CCTV. Sakto naman na habang nagsasagawa ng investigasyon ang mga
And she says, sakto, coincidentally, while they're doing their surveillance, while they're doing this investigation, this person of interest has a transaction with the blue vehicle.
Nakita nila dumaan mismo sa Binondo ang puting BMW.
Nasita nila itong occupant ito na naninigarilyo, nakita din nila itong mayroon pang kasama ito na isang occupant din na napagalaman natin na isang pulis.
At habang kinakausap si Oriol, may isa pa.
Okay, I need to backtrack here. What they exactly said over here. So Binondo, they're talking about Binondo, and Binondo is basically a Chinatown of the Philippines. It's pretty much where all the wholesalers are that are owned by Chinese. All the products from China are. It's like a drop off, where they drop off all the cheap Chinese products and then they get distributed wholesale there. But it's mainly owned by Chinese. Let's continue. I mean, let's go back, because I don't understand this. Like I said, there's too many. So there's another occupant in this vehicle that is also police. There's also another occupant in this vehicle that's smoking cigarettes and is also police. So the police know what's going on. They already know the players. Maybe this is the Chinese buying off the police. It's like their protection money. So you can pretty much do anything you want here in the Philippines, just as long as you're paying the police, and until the double cross happens. Okay, so you could make a parallel or a comparison to the same thing as me. You can pretty much do what you're doing. Like, for example, I'm making friends, and eventually you're going to be double crossed. So they have a business relationship here with the police, and eventually there's going to be a time where the police are going to say, okay, and I'm going to kill the goose that laid the golden egg. So here you can hear from their own words that there's another police that's inside. How can you tell? How can you know? Well, because they already know, because they're involved. Police protection for payola, for money, is part of the culture over here, part of making money. It's their way of life. It's what's called their hanap buhay, and which is normal. It's like business as usual.
Sakto naman na habang nagsasagawa ng investigasyon ang mga otoridad, nakita nilang dumaan mismo sa Binondo ang puting BMW.
Nasita nila itong occupant ito na naninigarilyo. Nakita din nila itong mayroon pang kasama ito na isang occupant din na napagalaman natin na isang pulis.
So, yeah. Yep. Okay, go ahead. So what they're saying is over here, while they have the white vehicle under surveillance, they also made the observation that one of its occupants is a policeman also. So let's continue. So that why, where, how, what? Okay, so what's the police person doing there? So they really got their hands deep dirty into this situation.
At habang kinakausap si Oriol, may isa pang napansin ng mga pulis sa kanilang kabaro.
May mga pagkakapar.
So while they're performing this thing, they notice that, like, oh, look, there's their coworkers are getting involved here also.
Parehas ito dito sa driver ng ating gunman. Parehas na parehas yung suot-suot ng tsinelas. Parehas na parehas yung sling bag na suot-suot niya. At yung motor na eventually na-recover ng ating.
So they're saying they identified the driver as one of their police staff because of their sling bag, because it's the same sling bag that he uses in the same scooter and the same flip-flops. And I call bullshit on this one, because you could easily, that's not police work. That's not how you identify someone. I mean, there's millions. You could, as a lawyer, you could say there's how many of these scooters do they make? How many people buy the same thing over here? How many people buy those same flip flops? And then you could make the argument that. I'm sure if this person was normal, he would have probably gotten rid of. He would probably warned her. But anyway, I don't believe that they already knew that it was him. They just had to squeeze some answers out of people and intimidate them and say, hey, well, why this came out or why this is because somebody double-crossed or somebody messed with their sting or their operation. But let's continue what he says. So that's it doesn't add up. I mean, let's not complicate things. These people are not that complicated. They're very simple. This was the Chinese saying, okay, I'm doing, and first and foremost, when it comes to Chinese over here, clearly drugs. I mean, that's why there's so many drugs, so much drugs in the country, so much cheap drugs in the country is because it's all coming from China. And the Chinese know, they know how to do business, and they know the police are corrupt and the government is corrupt. They have to make payolas, and they get paid, so they have protection money. You can pretty much do, I mean, look at all the businesses, for example, Angeles City, all the Koreans own these bars where there's prostitutes inside. Obviously there's human trafficking going on in there, but they're able to get away with it because they know they conduct business by making their payolas, their protection money, and these people are involved in the same thing also. Is my deduction. Let's continue.
Mamatch dito sa ginagamit ng ating gunman.
Bukod kay Oriol, inarest
Eventually, na-recover ng ating mga operatiba ay nagmamatch dito sa ginagamit ng ating gunman.
Mask also, is that what he said? The mask, they were able to recover all those things. So I don't think so. They already knew who it was. It's like, here we're doing protection for this person, and then they did a transaction, and then one of our own killed the person that they did a transaction with. Somebody's got to pay. So let's continue.
Bukod kay Oriol, inaresto rin ang sakay ng puting BMW na nakitang katransaksyon ng biktima bago siya binaril na napag-alamang isa ring Chinese.
So in addition to the person that they arrested, that they got killed, they also arrested the person in that BMW, is what they told me. Oh, and what are the charges? Somebody explained to me, somebody told me, you arrest somebody and he's charged with what? Just because he did a transaction, are they assuming that he's somehow involved in the shooting of this person? So it was like a double cross. Somehow, okay, they did the transaction to get the money, now they're going to shoot him. So there's too much unanswered questions.
Era ang isa sa mga tinitik.
So they're just saying money is the motive. Obviously, money is the motive. Over here in the Philippines, it's just everything could be boiled down to simply down to money. And where is the money coming from? And like I said, they're dealing with Chinese nationals, authentic from mainland China nationals. You can pretty much bet your money that it's drug related.
Ang motibo sa pamamaril. Tumanggi nang humarap sa kamera ang mga suspect na kapos sinampahan ng kaso.
So they're trying to. This is the person that they said that was the suspect, and he declined to be interviewed.
Murder. Patuloy pang tinutugis ang gunman.
So they caught the person that was driving the scooter, but they haven't caught the gunman yet, the actual gunman.
Nagbabalita mula sa frontline. Justine Punsalang, News 5.
Okay, so let me put this in a spot where I can. There. Oops. That's good. So it'll have a decent thumbnail here.
Pera ang
So
isa
I don't
sa
have to
mga
do any
tinitingnan
editing.
motibo sa pamamaril. Ng biktima bago siya binaril na napag-alamang isa ring Chinese. Pera ang isa sa mga tinitingnang motibo sa
So we got Chinese, we got police. So when you got Chinese, when you got police, because the police are not going to spend resources. The police are not. Let's just say, let's fill in the blanks over. This is ninja police. The ninja police are not going to be spending all these resources on surveillance if money is not involved. It's always money, and where is the money gonna come from when it comes to Chinese? I mean, it's gonna sound racist, but it's usually drugs. What is your other better? If you can give me a better answer in the comments, we will entertain it. But for now, we got people being killed by police that are Chinese, and so the reporter even says that money is involved. But what's the biggest source of money when it comes to Chinese and the police? Drugs. So there must be some kind of transaction over here. They were protecting the transaction, but all of a sudden the protection went bad. They killed the person, and now they're probably going to kill the other person that's going to be over there so they could take the money and the drugs. So the protectors become the predators, because they probably have done this several times, or there's like small deals, and then finally the big payoff came in and they killed him, or they were. But why release it in the news? Well, maybe it's like I said, a double cross. The person that they were protecting, or something like that. Another police came in, or maybe it's just another. Or maybe somebody died and somebody has to pay for it. So they're picking one person as the fall guy, and it's gonna be easy. That's gonna be a loose end, so that person's gonna be dead also. So before he could say that, like, oh, I was told by my boss, because that's how the system works over here in the Philippines. It always, the corruption always starts from the top down. So this person was probably told by his superiors, okay, this is what you do. And now that it's over, now that the transaction is finished, okay, we got to tie up loose ends. So this person is a loose end. And the person in that BMW that got arrested, he's don't be surprised if he's dead also. And the gunman, now we have dead bodies. That was in public. We gotta set somebody up for the fall. So the superiors, or the people who are actually in charge, whoever they are, chiefs, generals, politicians, so they can continue. And before that person can say, oh, I was just ordered by so and so, before it goes up systematically, they're going to tie up that loose end also. And why? Over money, over drug money. Now, this is just the way of life over here, and you're thinking that you can say that, like, oh, because I'm not involved in drugs, I don't have to deal with that because I'm a civilian. Once these people cross this line and go into this world, death is just a natural part of the system. What comes in or what goes wrong is that because it's so corrupt, is because killing, it becomes second nature to them. It becomes natural to them, that of course they're after that there is no line for them to cross, that they can't cross anymore. Once that line is crossed, they can pretty much do this with impunity to anyone. It's like, what's stopping them from, okay, they're doing it to drug dealers, but what's stopping them from doing it to regular people? Just like that Korean businessman who was probably just in the import, export, or manpower business, that's doing legitimate business, not in drugs. But if you got people like me that are just doing normal things that are legitimate, not illegal, but because the police need money, it's so easy for them just to cross into that. What's another dead person? What's another murder? Because that's part of my duty, or that's part of my job, and that's how money that they need is made, and that's how they get it. So that's where you need to be concerned. Once these lines are blurred, this becomes a dangerous place for you, especially because if you have money, especially when money is the motive, they can pretty much say anything. As you could see in my last vlog, they can pretty much accuse you of anything. If you have money, just like the Korean golfers, they have money, they have golf clubs that they want, so they just accuse them, or what is it, drugs or online gambling. Same thing with me. I don't have online gambling, or I don't have online drugs or drug trafficking, but they said, oh, human trafficking. There's no bail there, even though, as you could see, like I said, I don't need to do human trafficking. I already said, if you know anything about the culture. So they'll accuse you of anything just for your money, okay? And that's something you have to keep in mind, because as you could see, these people may be involved in the drug trade, but as for me, I'm not involved in any drug trade or gambling, or especially human trafficking. But they'll go ahead and accuse you anyway. And even like I already showed you the evidence, even if there is no evidence of rape, they'll still charge you with rape because of over money. So that's something you have to know and you have to be concerned about. Especially, everybody's telling you how wonderful it is here in the Philippines. Yes, it is wonderful, but it's also irresponsible for people not to show the dark side of the Philippines, of the reality that you could have the most beautiful things here in the Philippines because you have money, and if you know what you're doing, you could also have the ugliest experiences like this just because money, even if you're not doing anything wrong. Even though if you're not doing anything illegal is proven, and the police are usually the perpetrators of this crime. Extortion, kidnap for ransom, murder for hire, gun for hire, that's all orchestrated by the organized crime here in the Philippines, which is the police, specifically, probably in my case, the Philippine National Police. And I have firsthand knowledge experience of this. So based on what I know and my experience, I can apply to this. The cops are dirty. They're ninja cops. And how they were able to identify these people, because they already knew, not because of the flip-flops that person is using, or that helmet or that mask that person is using. Like I said, because they produce hundreds of thousands of these, and just because that person is using the same thing doesn't mean that that person is a suspect. It's because they already know. Let me know if you agree or disagree. Do you think that this was a drug deal gone wrong? I mean, just like in the movies, it becomes a reality here in the Philippines. It's very simple. It's a double cross where the police are involved. And just as long as you know it, that this is the reality over here, that anybody, the last thing you want to do is Murphy's Law, is that because that you're not involved in anything illegal, that this might not happen to you. But the reality is, just as long as you have money, this could happen to you also, because the people here will cross the line, pretty much do anything for the love of money. In my situation, it's a combination of actually greed and jealousy. Where does jealousy come from is because I pretty much have ability to do certain things because of my background, because of my experience, because of my different experiences from both different cultures, that I was able, that of course I can, since I have a unique experience and I have a unique background, I'm going to do unique I'm able to do unique things, especially since I could put two and two together, and I can pretty much get results based on that. And I can solve certain problems. But when it's certain problems like systemic corruption like this, one of the videos I was thinking of doing was Bebot's only hostage negotiator is my next line of work or skills that I can add. And you're basically, your kidnappers will be the Philippine National Police, and they're gonna be wanting to extort money from you. So I'll probably do a separate video on that, and I'm probably gonna do a reaction video. I think I was supposed to do a Fazio reaction video that I just been. The reason why I'm just, not that I'm putting it off, because I have an order that I want to do these videos. Like, I wanted to do this judicial affidavit first, to also confirm how corrupt, how criminal the police are here, and the people who are here should know better, that know it's common knowledge. But there's something that occurs also with these vloggers, is they have this mob mentality, this kind of mob psychology. And I'll probably go into that. Mob mentality, mob psychology, if you look it up, I'm trying to remember from my psychology 101, is because as long as another person believes it, then you believe it also, regardless if it's a lie. It could be the biggest lie in the world, and just as long as another person believes it, you believe it also. Like, you could say that there are purple dragons. Oh, this person believes that there are purple dragons. I'm not going to believe it. But if there's enough people that believe it, you're going to believe that there's purple dragons also. So it's kind of like the mob psychology, mob mentality. It's like, these are not the droids that you're looking for. And then the reason why it works so well, because there are a lot of people have weak minds, or they give into their emotion. And what emotion are we talking about specifically in this situation? In my situation, is jealousy. But we'll get into that in another video. But what I wanted to show is, and here's another example of a reality over here. We got Chinese, we got police, we got murder, we've got shooting, we've got transactions, we've got a lot of money, we've got drug money, and we got ninja cops. Lines are crossed. I just wanted to demonstrate another example of how police are the organized crime here in the Philippines, and there's no line they will cross for money, especially your money. And keep that in mind, and that life you save will be your own. And as long as you know that, you're maybe one step ahead. As Bebot's only hostage negotiator now, I have experience of this. If you ever find yourself in the same place, you better look for me and somehow get my consultation on what is the best way to get out of it alive, just like I did. Anyway, I've said enough. Let me know what you think. This is in the comments. I'm kind of disappointed. There's not much trolling or comments coming around, but I mean that might be a testimony of how my videos are pretty much complete. There's really no room for discussion, because sometimes when it's black and white, there is really not much to say. But I always welcome engagement. I never delete any of the comments. I know, or I believe that they're part of the discussion. I always want my viewpoints to be challenged, so they could either be so I know whether they're valid or invalid. I always welcome other people's viewpoints. And what makes it difficult for people to challenge my experiences is because they're my experiences and they're my own personal experiences, and I have a lot of experience, especially with people, especially here in the Philippines. So there's really not much for people to challenge. It's probably my fault, or the demise of the comment section, because I'm so deep into the experiences that it's hard to challenge somebody else's experience, since I'm an expert on. Anyway, still, I welcome all comments. I believe in the freedom of expression, because it says a lot more about you than about me, of where you're coming from, and it comes from your own experiences. Anyway, this is Bebs Only. I'll see you guys in the next vlog. Thanks for watching.